Hello, YouTube. I'm just waiting for TikTok. My big audience is on TikTok. Don't know how many subscribers I've got on YouTube. I don't have any idea. But anyway, hello, Nico. Nico. Ninisham Mama Spooch. So I'm just reading your handles there. Anyway, while we're waiting for people to turn up, I'd love to hear where you're from. Hi, I am. You weren't here yesterday or last night, were you? If you were, I didn't see you there. Because I get a lot of regulars on here. Goober. Hi, Goober. Anyway, so where are you from? I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. It's supposed to rain today, but it's sunny. Can't figure itself out. Very hard to dress for this weather. Do I wear boots or shorts? I don't know which. Okay, so where are you from? Calgary. Hi, Calgary. I spent a few summers there in my youth. We had relatives there. Dallas, Texas. It was funny. I always say I want to go to Texas, and I was talking about, I heard Dallas is really good for, like, I'm a vegan. I said, it's really good for vegans and wellness retreats and all that. And they said, no, that is Austin. I said, Dallas isn't like that. I still want to go to Dallas. Alabama. I always say I'm vegan, but I'm not pro-vegan. Like, you could sit right beside me and eat a whole bunch of ribs. I'd probably just drool over them. So, yeah, I wouldn't go to Austin just because they're vegan, but just because there might be more retreat kind of stuff there for me. I love all that spa stuff. I'm a sucker for that. Congratulations on your healthy relationship. Me? What relationship? I don't talk about relationships on here. Don't know what you mean. Okay, so where are you from? I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. How many people have I got? It's a slow start, so we'll just wait a little bit longer. I keep going back and forth. I have my 5 top toddler tips. So it started at 3, then it went to 5, and yesterday I put it to 4. I put it back up to 5 today. So I have 5 of them. Colorado. Hi, Colorado. Okay. Where are you from? Canada. Whereabouts in Canada? I'm in Vancouver. There's 2 Vancouvers. There's one in Washington State, and then there's one up here in British Columbia, Canada. Calgary, Alberta. So I got a couple here from Calgary. We used to have family in Toronto, so we'd go through Calgary, Winnipeg, Toronto, and then they moved to Winnipeg. Then we went Calgary, Winnipeg. This is because we'd holiday with them. Then they moved to Calgary. Then we went Calgary, and then they eventually moved out to Vancouver. It was funny. They just kept moving west. Okay, we'll get going now. We've got enough people to get going. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go in the link above, you can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses, or download my free behavior board. You're on that behavior board too. That's what it's all about. It's about connecting with your kids, being accountable. You show them how it's done. I call my style leadership parenting, or calm leadership parenting. The only reason you're calm is when you're disciplining. But really, the rest of the time, you can be loud and crazy like I was. I was crazy. I didn't have to discipline because my kids were self-disciplined. They learned that from a really tiny age. Saskatoon. They skipped Saskatchewan. My dad was from Saskatoon originally. He hated it, actually. Didn't hate it, but they were bored. He grew up on a farm, and they went without a lot. So did my mom in Winnipeg. And they were poor back then during the Depression. And they were both born in 1922. And in Saskatoon, on this farm, he said it was really hard work. Like they had to grow or rear all their food, or hunt for it and fish for it. So it was a tough life. But he told this story. He didn't talk a lot about it, but he told the story of during the winter, they had outhouses. They didn't have indoor plumbing. When they were kids, they had to tie a rope around their waist to go out to the outhouse in a winter storm, or else they'd get lost in the storm. Wow. They probably had like chamber pots inside too, I would imagine. With little kids, you'd have to. But wow, what a tough life, eh? Hi, France. I was there back in 1980. Loved it. And one of my favorite cities in Europe was Antwerp in Belgium. I don't know why. I just fell in love with it. Yeah, I love Europe. Okay, so let's get going with your parenting questions. I don't tend to scroll back. It makes me dizzy. So if I haven't answered your question, just keep posting it and I'll do my best. If I think it's a repeat, I'll probably skip it. Like if I've just answered something, people will come in, ask a question, not realize 2 minutes before I just answered the exact same question. Wow. Both my grandparents were born in 1922 as well. Yeah, my mom and dad were born that. Well, they're both passed, obviously. But yeah, both born in 1922. And I would probably be your parents' age. I'm in my 60s. Okay. I have no idea what this is. I'm not a doctor, obviously. 2-year-old with a history of pyloric stenosis surgery. She just wants a bottle. I have no idea what that is. And I'm not a doctor, so I probably couldn't. I would be very hesitant to recommend anything when it comes to medical stuff. I teach parent-child relationships. Consequences for a 3-year-old. I have a whole bunch of ideas on my free behavior board. That's in the link above, and it'll go into great detail. But usually it's a chore. So, and there's always 2 consequences for kids on the behavior board. You start with a positive action. If they won't do that, which is usually a chore, if they won't do that, and you always put a time within 10 minutes of being asked to do so, you have to maybe clean a window or something. And then when don't keep reminding them. When that 10 minutes is up, say, okay, the window wasn't clean, so now it's 24-hour media blackout. That's the negative deprivation. You resort to that if they won't do the first one. And it's all calm. That's why I call it calm leadership. When you're disciplining, calm, calm, calm. Like you don't even know you're doing it. It's almost like you couldn't be more bored. It's like, okay, so that wasn't done within 10 minutes. So 24-hour media blackout starts now. Do you understand? Calm, calm, calm. And then don't get pulled into explaining yourself. The more you explain, the weaker you are, and they know that. How to be a leader for your kids. Any steps? Yeah, I have a whole course on that if you're interested. It's 5 weeks to be a leader, get respect. Otherwise, just keep watching. That's all I ever talk about is leadership. Because leadership to me is about connecting with your kids. It's not about discipline, really. I mean, everyone wants to talk about that. But it's not about that. It really is more about connecting with them. Once you get good at that, they don't need disciplining because they look up to you. It would be embarrassing to act out with a leader. They would be embarrassed. They want to please you. They want to please a leader. Children naturally need, crave, and want leadership. If you don't provide that for them, they're going to go searching for it elsewhere. They're going to be very susceptible to bullying, peer pressure, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. They're going to go searching for a leader. If you're a leader at home, they're not susceptible to any of that. They're not vulnerable at all. So yeah, you want to be a leader for your children. They need it. They're kids. By the time they're teenagers, you want them to be their own leaders, but you're there for backup. You want them to tell you everything. You want to be a safe place to land. Teenagers you have to change your parenting for teenagers. How to help an 18-month-old with transition to new baby sister coming in February. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. I think you can't. How could you possibly explain to a toddler how their life is going to change with a new baby? I have never once ever in my whole life ever heard of that. Any successful setup for that. Not once, not ever. In the hospital, they're holding their little new baby sister. Oh, she's beautiful, whatever. And they're, oh, what a wonderful big brother you're going to be. You get home and they chuck the baby on the floor. You can't possibly explain to them how much their life is going to change. They can't comprehend it. So I can't help you with that at all. There's all sorts of little tips out there. Get them their own little baby doll. They can help you and get them to help and all that. Yeah. If they're going to hate that baby and go through a rough time, they're going to do it. Okay. I love your leadership skills. I'm a grandmother of 3 and enjoy listening to you. Excellent. Welcome, Sylvia. Consequences for a non-verbal 4-year-old who hits when he gets upset. Why is he non-verbal? Is he autistic? If so, that's coaching. It's a specialty. I don't deal with that on TikTok. That's coaching. You might want to hire me if he's non-verbal. So if he's autistic, I don't know why he's non-verbal. But that sounds more like a specialty to me. I would have to work with you on that. I do all that stuff in coaching. I specialize in teenager stuff. They're my favorite age. I actually started my business with teen crisis work. And I love teenagers. Okay. 13-year-old can get quite grumpy sometimes. Do I just ignore it? Yep, absolutely. Pretend you don't even see it. And don't point it out. Don't say, well, we'll discuss it when you've calmed down, when you're nicer. Talk about an accelerator. Talk about poking the bear. Just if you're talking to them and they're all grumpy, just say, oh, we'll discuss it later, and just walk away. You never address attitude. There's no point. No point. So we should not explain when we ground them? I don't ground kids. I don't know what you mean by that. No, I don't know what you mean by grounding. I don't teach that, so I don't know. You got a 2-year-old hitting and biting and all that sort of stuff. I have a little mini course on that up above if you're interested in that. It goes into great detail. Toddlers are not about words. They're all about actions. It's consistent corrective actions because they learn through repetition. So if they bite, you just say no, push them away, take the fun away for a minute, take them away from the fun. It's consistent corrective actions. If you do that 9 times out of 10, they're going to remember that one time you didn't do it. You gotta say, I'm just gonna make this a thing. I'm gonna solve this problem within the weekend or a week, whatever it takes, and just focus on that. And you gotta catch it every single time. That's why the word consistent is there. They think they can get away with something because you're not consistent, they're gonna keep doing it. Okay, your advice to connect with my girls has changed our lives. Excellent. Rebecca, how old are they? Were you a client? I don't know. I don't recognize names much unless you were recent. Even then, I don't always recognize names. It's funny because with my clients, and sometimes I work with clients for months, like, depends on what they're going through. And I don't connect the name with the face. But as soon as I see their face, I remember everything about them. I don't know why I can't connect a name. I don't know why that is. I think actually, 14, 12, and 10. Oh God, what a great age to be connecting. Perfect. So that's Rebecca who said that my information on how to connect with your kids has changed her life. You've got a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 10-year-old. So that says to me it's never too late, right? And it's especially important when you got teenagers because you're going to lose them soon. They're going to be out on their own soon. And when they make a mistake when they're a teenager, it can be a big one. So, but yeah, good for you. You've put in the work, Rebecca. I just told you what to do, but you went and did it, right? Good for you. Okay. I was a teller. Now I connect on their level. You told them what to do. Okay, now you connect on their level. You were a teller, so you were the expert. No one likes an expert. Us adults don't either, do we? So yeah, think about it. How do you, when you're talking to a friend, and you already know all this, but I'm just talking to everybody else. When you're talking to a friend and you tell them a problem, and then they say, "Okay, here's what you do." Are you going to talk to them again? Are you going to tell them your deepest secrets and your worries? Probably not. Here's what you want to hear. Oh, that would be frustrating. Do you want to, what are you going to do? You want to work it out? But you don't offer advice. You listen to understand and show empathy with teenagers, especially. You listen to understand and show empathy, then stop talking. I call it silent listening. That's my politically correct way of saying it. I like to say it's listen, then shut up. Just listen. And when you get good at this, they're going to tell you everything. They already know your advice anyway. They already know what you would say. So yeah, the better you get at that, they'll tell you everything right through the teen years. You won't always want to hear it, but they're going to tell you because you're a safe place to land. I was a yelling mom. Yeah, a yelling mom. Yellers, the only reason most of my clients yell, it's very rare that I get a client who doesn't yell. Like it throws me off. I'll be working with them in coaching and I'll be typing up the behavior board. And then I'll say, "Okay, do you yell?" And they usually say, they usually go like this, "Yeah, I yell." And I'm like, "Good, okay, that's everyone does." So sometimes they'll say, "No, I don't yell." It almost throws me off. I almost don't know what to do. It's that rare that I get a client who doesn't yell. Very few parents don't yell. I was raised by non-yellers. I wasn't a yeller. So yeah, it's very rare. The only time first time I was ever yelled at in my whole life, I was about 26 years old, and it was a friend of a friend. I won't go into the story, but she kind of lost her nut. I had heard from other people she was very dramatic and everything upset her. She was a very spoiled little rich girl, and everything had to go her way. Anyway, I don't know what happened. We were just sitting there, and she yelled at me just out of the blue. And I got up and left, and I never went out alone with her again. And boy, was she apologetic, but I never forget. Not that I didn't forgive her. I don't want people like that in my life, but that was the only time I think I've ever really been yelled at. But yeah, so I was never got yelled at. I'm not around people. I don't like people who yell. Like I don't really have a temper, so I don't like being around people who have tempers. It just doesn't sit well with me. We're all different, right? How do you stop a toddler screaming? Well, are they screaming in fun? Not much you can do about that. Kids are loud when they're having fun usually, and that's just part of parenting. Oh my God. You know what I hated is, oh God, I hated birthday parties. I had millions of them. We had a pool, we had them all in the pool, and everything seems to echo around the pool because we had a big fence around the pool too, and all the noise seemed to bang off the pools. We used to have, is in Australia, we used to have cockatoos in the palm trees over the pool. Even they would leave when the kids were screaming. I hate a pool, but it's just part of having kids. They're just loud. And so I never tried to stop fun. But if they were screaming in anger to get something, I would just ignore them. I would just say no and turn around and just ignore them, just temporarily. Um, they lean into what works. If screaming never works, they kind of just stop doing it. But toddlers are going to do what they're going to do. They're crazy. I'm going to read my top 5 tips for toddlers. I've changed it a little bit. I keep changing it. I just wrote it all out. I think this is good. I'll keep it for today anyway. My 5 top toddler tips. Number 1, child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, enter their world to connect with them. You don't connect with a 3-year-old at the nail salon. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. They just look at you differently when you enter their world. They just do. It's part of leadership. They're just going to connect with you more. And stop trying to, it's number 4, stop trying to figure them out. They're not figure-outable. They're not formed yet. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed in here. To some of them, sticking their hands in their pants and smearing poop on the wall is totally normal. Okay, so don't try and figure them out. Number 5 is stop the mini therapy sessions. When toddlers do something wrong, don't have a mini therapy session. They're not about words, they're about actions. Okay, they're not about words. I know these mini therapy sessions are super trendy right now. Use your words. Let's talk about your feelings. Are you sad? Oh God, give me a break. That's not for the toddler, that's for the mom. That was invented for the mom. I saw that when that first started coming out, that trend. I said, that's gonna be trouble. When you have that please your parents style, that, anyway. Sorry, I won't go on about it. I probably will eventually, but right now I don't need to go on about it. I got myself worked up over absolutely nothing, didn't I? It's just that's what I'm up against every single day in my business. Okay, 9-year-old constantly bickers with younger sister over everything. You got to figure out who the culprit is. Often it's the one that you don't think it is. I'm often hired for sibling rivalry, and I'll say, well, tell me exactly what happened. And I'll say, no, that doesn't make any sense. Next time, watch them. I think it's the younger one who's causing it. Watch it. They might be doing that or something behind your back. So watch it. I don't know what's going on. That's a hard one for me to give general advice on because I don't know what's going on. I'd have to assess the situation. It's often not what the parents think it is. They'll tell me something. Well, the reason is the older one's bullying the younger one. I'll say, well, exactly what happened. And then I'll say, yeah, that's probably it. Or I'll say, no, I don't think so. I think the younger one's starting it. That's sometimes the only attention the younger one can get from the older one is by causing problems. So that's often why they do it. It's not always the case, but yeah, you'd have to hire me for that. I can't assess why exactly what's going on. I'd have to figure it out. What's the most useful advice for parents with 2-year-olds? I just read it out. My 5 steps. Best advice. I'll just go through it real fast right now because I just read it out. Child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Enter their world to connect with them. You don't go to a nail salon to connect with your 3-year-old. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. Stop trying to figure them out. They're not figure-outable. They haven't formed yet. And number 5 is stop with the mini therapy sessions discussing all their feelings. They're about actions. If they do something naughty, it's consistent corrective actions because they learn through repetition. It's not words. Those mini therapy sessions are super trendy right now. Use your words, find your inner feelings and all this stuff. That's for the mom. It's just to feed the mom. Has nothing to do with the kids. Nothing. I feel called out. If you turn up here, there's going to be a lot of oops in here. I have no political correctness. I just say it. I say it like it is. Call myself out too, so. Life is messy. Life isn't about perfection. By the way, parenting's always been easy for me. I've worked with so many kids for 51 years. I get it. I just understand kids. Whole bunch of stuff in my life isn't easy for me. You just see me at my best. This is what I know. I know there's 3 things I'm good at: parenting, sewing, and cleaning. Oh, and fitness. 4 things. Fitness. The rest of it, I struggle just like the rest of you. So yeah, you just catch me at my best. Do not talk to me about oh God, don't even get me started. Never mind. There's something I'm really bad at. My accountant could tell you all about it. Yeah, there's a lot. We're all great at some things and horrible at other things, and that's the way it is. That's the way it should be. I don't think that we should all be good at everything. And who would want to be around a perfect person? I love the fact that I'm great at some things and lousy at others, because I admire that in other people too. Like, we've all got to balance each other out, right? The therapy session, trying to figure them out, is me. Yeah, it's real trendy right now. I call it the pleaser parent style. And don't ask me who does it or anything. I do not know. I'm kid taught. I don't know what anyone else is teaching. I know nobody else out there in the parenting world. I'm very careful about that. Sometimes people will even show me something and I'll go, no, not listening, because I don't want to be criticizing anyone. I would think that'd be kind of trashy. So I just don't do that. So, but when I criticize something, I don't know who's teaching it. I don't know under what umbrella they're teaching it. I stay out of all that. So yeah, but the pleaser parent style, there's two very distinct styles. The old-fashioned authority, my way or the highway. I know everything. You do what I say because I'm your parent. You're better to err on that side. At least they're leaders. They're more the authority, but they're kind of more, there's still leadership in there. The pleaser parent is, let's talk it out. How are you feeling? Oh, okay, so let's roll out the red carpet. Oh, my child should get a participation award just for turning up. He was sick that day. Can he get an award anyway? He didn't get one. He cried. You're raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. That's the trend right now. You're not raising strong individuals. They're going to wipe their feet all over you and they'll never appreciate you. But the authority style parent, their teenagers will rebel against them, but then later on appreciate them. And you're going to raise stronger individuals. So this pleaser parent style, it's a disaster. It's just a disaster. But anyway, I don't teach either one of those. I'm a leader. Yeah, I don't teach either one of those. Like, I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11 years old, and the daycare workers always sent the difficult kids over my way. And they used to say, how do you do that? The kids all want to be with you, but they're so good with you. I didn't know how to explain it. I was a leader. I was leading. I got on their good side in that they liked themselves when they were with me, because I don't take any crap. When kids, it's all about them liking themselves. My goal is to get kids to have high self-esteem and confidence and be problem solvers, think for themselves. I want them to feel good about themselves. Now, if I'm the source of that, I'm the leader. You see, you want to be the source of them feeling good, of them liking themselves, not you. They will, but that's not your goal. Your goal is to get your kids to like themselves. Do they like themselves when they're biting you, hitting you, kicking you, swearing at you, talking back to you? Do they like themselves? No, they hate themselves. See, that's why discipline is so important. When you learn how to get them to respect you by you respecting them, they start to like themselves more. They feel better about themselves. Okay, the therapy session is trying to figure them out as me. Yeah. Okay, 16-month-old is starting to have an attitude and crying, which doesn't get what she wants. And you just ignore that stuff. If they're crying for something that they need, yeah, food, sleep, yeah, you attend to that. But if they're just crying for something they want repeatedly and you've already said no and it's something they can't have, just ignore it. If you feed that, they're in charge. Too many parents are reacting instead of leading. Leading is not reacting. Leading is not reacting to their bad behavior. You can, when everything's fun, you can react to all that crazy stuff, like, when it's all fun and happy. But if they're doing something naughty that you don't want, that you want to stop, that's when you don't react. You just start leading. You just kind of ignore it. Generally, unless it's something violent and they're hurting themselves, someone else, or damaging property, then you intervene and you restrain them. Other than that, you just ignore that stuff. They eventually lean into what works and they lean away from what doesn't work. Every time, oh, good point, Alexandra. Every time I feel called out here, I know I've just learned something valuable. I'm not here to be gentle. I'm here to shake things up. Yeah, I like that. Like, if I'm learning something, I don't want someone to coddle me. I'm just not like that. I want to learn. Point out what I'm doing wrong. Point it out. Tell me what a bunch of crap it is. I want to learn. Like, I don't like, I don't know, I like honesty. I like, yeah. So I like learning like that. Like if I hire someone and they want them to teach me something, I don't like it when they're, okay, well, you're very good at this, but that I say, just say, Lisa, you're crap at this. Here's what you got to do. That's my style. Because I don't want to be, I'm not a snowflake, is what I'm saying. So yeah, that's how we learn best, is when you shake things up. And the only reason why people are snowflakes is a lack of security, a lack of confidence. I'm quite okay with being bad at some things. Doesn't bother me. I'm quite okay with that. I want to learn. Um, I was telling someone once, I always wanted to learn a second language. I don't know why. My brain doesn't go sideways. It just doesn't. Like I can't do those puzzles. What are they called? They're twisted. Like it's not a puzzle. It's a mental. What if you had three of this and three of that, but you have to think sideways? I can't do it. My brain does not go sideways. It only goes straight. It's the weirdest thing. That's why I can't learn a second language. My brain only goes straight. This is the way I think, and I can't go sideways. It's bizarre. Anyway, I did an immersion course where there was, I think, 4 of us students. It cost a fortune. And there was 4 of us and the instructor. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the instructor, and we only spoke French. They kicked me out because they said I was pulling the whole group down. I was so frustrated, I just couldn't learn. And then the instructor said, look, we know you'd probably be very good at it one day. And I said, just say you're crap. And finally they said, yeah, you're just crap at it. Some people just can't learn another language. I love that kind of stuff because it wasn't being mean. It was just saying it like it is. I can't seem to learn a second language. That's why I'm so impressed when other people can. Okay. My 2-year-old is extremely cautious and scared of things on the playground and swim. What can I do? Whoo, boy, oh boy. I would say yippee. I had a very cautious son. My son was very cautious to the point where his gym teacher at school, when he was like in grade 2 or 3, said, I'm very concerned about him. He's very cautious. And I'm like, yippee. Like he never climbed anything and got injured or anything. He was very cautious. So, and he turned out just fine. So yeah, your talents tend to other things. Yeah. And your talents tend to go where you put all your energy to. Like all my energy, I put decades of work into figuring kids out. So that's where my talent is. I love cleaning. I do it a lot. I've been sewing for 59 years. And I've been into fitness since 1976. I joined my first gym. So these are things I put a lot of time into. So you're going to get good at stuff you put a lot of time into. So yeah, I don't take any pride in being good at something I've never put any time into. But think about that. You want to raise your kids. It's okay to not be good at everything. You don't want to raise perfect people. I've known people who try and impress. Think about this. This is a good life lesson. My mom used to say this. She goes, no one wants to be impressed. They just want to have fun. Everyone's known people out there who brag about what they've got. They've got a show home, but they never really say anything funny or interesting, do they? But they're always so busy showing you everything they have. And I'm like, I could not be more bored. I couldn't think. I'd rather have a molar pulled out through my nostril. Like, how boring are they? People who tend to be into showing and impressing have nothing to say, and they know it. So think about that. People don't want to be impressed. They just want to have fun. They don't want to be impressed. Nobody does. But yeah, I've known people like that in my life, and they're always saying, "Oh, she has so much. They have so much money." Like, oh, okay, are they fun? And I've actually said that to someone. Oh, are they fun? And they look confused. Obviously not. But yeah, my mom was brilliant. She was my mentor. She was just such a funny, warm person. Everyone loved my mom. Just had natural born charisma. Okay. I have a 13-year-old, and I thought I was doing a good parenting, but other people see things I did. There must be a continuation. I don't know. By the way, parenting changes when they're teenagers. You go from being their leader, and then when they're tweens or preteens, that's 9 to 12 years old, you start to hand the leadership torch over to them, just gradually, and you start to negotiate everything. So by the time they're a teenager, you get heavily into negotiations. So the 2 most important skills when you're parenting teenagers is you listen to understand and show empathy, and then stop talking. Don't give advice. If they want it, they're going to ask for it. They already know it anyway. So you listen to understand and show empathy, and then you negotiate everything. Everything's negotiable. Say, look, I want you to put your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? Like that, you see? My son once said to me, and he was upset when he said this. He says, "You've been a really difficult mom." He was 15. He says, "You've been a really difficult mom to have." I was shocked. I thought it was great. I said, "What?" And he said, "Yeah," he says, "I've got nothing to rebel against. You're too reasonable and easy to talk to." I didn't know that was a problem for him. He needed to rebel. I didn't know that. So I said, "Fine, go clean your room." And he never did. Rebellion taken care of. I was too reasonable and easy to talk to, so he had nothing to rebel against. Interesting, eh? I did not see that coming. Yeah, I did not see that coming at all. I thought, why would you? I guess all his friends were rebelling and he had nothing to rebel against. He felt left out, I guess. He was very funny, actually. He said, one of his friends said to him, "Would you ever break the law, like do something illegal?" And not that his friend did, but they, you know how they're just talking. And so my son said, "No, I could never break the law. I'd be terrified my mom would get to me before the police could." Darn rights. That's respect. That's not fear. That's respect. That was funny. Toddlers at preschool, learning how to be around other kids and new rules is hard, but trying my best. Toddlers at preschool. Are you a preschool teacher or are you the parent? But yeah, they're learning. That's just part of it. Uh, oh, autism. That's coaching one-on-one with me. I can't deal with that on here because autism is each child has a different way of taking information in and not taking information in. And so that's coaching. It's a specialty. That's something I only deal with in coaching. It's like crisis work and abuse and all that kind of stuff. All that stuff is a specialty, and I only deal with that in coaching. I started my business doing crisis work with especially teenagers, but also a lot of kids who've been abused and stuff like that. That was how I started my business. And I don't lead with that anymore, but that's my base. I stopped leading with that. I used to do a lot of news and morning shows, like they call me in as the parenting expert if something had happened in the news with kids. So anyway, one night they introduced me as it was a 6 o'clock news headline. It was the first story on the news. And they introduced me as the crisis queen. And I thought, I don't want to do that. I want to be the prevention queen. I want to have a more like a positive spin on this, like leadership parenting, right? And you can avoid all that stuff when you're a leader. That stuff doesn't happen if you're a leader. So rather than fixing broken things, I'd rather prevent them from breaking in the first place. But in coaching, I do a lot of fixing. I'll tell you one of my absolute favorite, one of my proudest parenting moments, and it seems a bit weird, but it was a very fast, I called it really fast. I figured out really quickly this brand new client, and I can't go into it too much, and it's happened more than once, but this is the first time this ever happened. And we figured out together, the mom and I, and we did some digging, and we got the police involved. Instantly, I said, "You hang up now. I'm going to hang up." It's on Skype. This is years and years ago. I said, "I'm going to call the police and tell them this story, and you call the police and tell them this story." And the police did a sting operation. And the girl she ran away to meet someone she'd met online. And guess who got off the bus to arrest this freak? And sure enough, a cop got off the bus to meet this freak. And it was quite a distance away too. And they're probably still in jail. But yeah, they used a Justin Bieber lookalike kind of picture. And it was a dirty old man, of course. But that was one of my absolute most exciting parenting in my business. That was so exciting. Catching a freak like that, having him put in jail. I didn't do it, but I mean, I figured it out real quick. The mom didn't know what was going on, and I figured it out really quickly because I've dealt with this stuff, but I'd never been that closely involved in a sting operation before. Wow, police were on that one. That was fun. Think of all the kids that didn't get attacked because of that. Can I discipline my 1-year-old? Not really. No, not really. Up to about 16 months old, I sort of consider them babies. So it's just consistent corrective action. But at that age, you say no to them, but it's very much like this: no. And then you just sort of move them away from what they've done or something. It's action, but it's very gentle. You never want to discipline a baby to the point where they cry, because you don't want to scare them. If they cry because you took away something they shouldn't have, that's okay. But you don't want to scare a baby. I used to work in an emergency shelters, and I say here it's unbelievable. Staff's hands were tied. I don't know what you're continuing on with something. I get dizzy when I go back, so um, oh, how can I help my daughter who's scared of automatic toilets? You can't. It's one of those things they just get used to. It's like saying, how do I stop someone from being afraid of flying? They just have to fly. They'll just get used to it. It's called immersion therapy, and not to say that she has OCD, but at all. But if someone has OCD, they don't avoid that thing. They go into it. They lean into it. They expose them to it. So yeah, I just wouldn't worry about it. I would say it's going to flush. Cover your ears, and they're just going to have to learn. It's one of those things. They'll get over it. 8-year-old boy throws a fit. Oh, you're going to hate my answer. 8-year-old boy throws a fit anytime he doesn't get his way. That's a learned behavior. That does not happen at 8 years old unless it's worked. It just doesn't. Because past the age of 4, they only do what works. So that says to me, it either used to work or it is still working. So if he pitches a fit and gets his own way, you've trained him that. That's learned behavior. He's been trained to do that. So yeah, if you want to hire me, you can do that up above, or I have a whole course on how to get respect in 5 weeks. It goes through a whole bunch of stuff. Or you can just look at my behavior board, and that's free. It's all in the link above in the bio. Just says he doesn't respect you. That's a tell. We're never fixing kids. We're fixing and teaching parents here. So that's lack of leadership. That's why he does that. Like if I'd thrown a fit with my mother at 8 years old, like I never had a tantrum. Neither did my daughter, but my son did. They were either born to have them if they didn't. My son stopped tantruming at I think 3.5 because he just learned they're never going to work. So, but if I'd thrown a fit or done it, my mother would have gone like this. Are you kidding me with this? I would have been embarrassed because I looked up to my mom. I would have been humiliated. So yeah, you want to get that going. Like if my kids had done that, I would have gone, what? So yeah, you want to get to that level. Obviously it bugs you and it's a learned behavior because it would have worked. It would have worked at 8 years old. Yes, guaranteed. I could be wrong, but I doubt it. I don't think I could be wrong with that one. My 3-year-old throws tantrum when mom or dad gets home from work. Why and what to do? I don't know why. To be honest, I don't know why. I have no idea. I just kind of have this funny feeling that maybe it's because when you get home from work, they're not your first priority. Your 3-year-old is not your first priority. And they throw the tantrum to become the first priority. Could that be it? I don't know. It's just a gut feeling, but I don't know. You're going to be a good leader. Good for you. You got a 9-month-old. I'm sometimes hired by people who were just thinking of having kids. I've only ever met one family who never should have had kids. They weren't clients. They were someone I knew. And yeah, they actually admitted they regretted having kids in front of the kids. You can imagine what those kids were like. It was not a good situation. And they were highly educated. They'd been alone as a couple for like 20 years, happy. All their friends had kids. They just thought they'd give it a go and get this precious little angel. They got a big, burly, tantruming boy. And then they decided to get another one just to keep him company. And they both fought like cat and dog, never got along. The parents hated parenting. The kids knew it. Oh, it was a disaster. That is rare to meet someone who never should have had kids. And they shouldn't have. Highly educated, very together people. They should never have had kids. They should have just stayed with them. That was really rare. I guess they love their kids, but boy, it sure didn't come across. And those kids knew it. So it's not a good idea to take away privileges for a teenager. I wouldn't lead with that. No, no. You can go there eventually, but you got to do some work first. That's not the first thing you do. With your little children, you discipline them to get respect. With teenagers, you've got to get respect and connection and your relationships going first. Then you can start taking stuff away if you have to. but make sure they have some power over you too. That's why you're on that behavior board. With teenagers, call it an accountability chart. So it's you all have rules and consequences. But yeah, you don't start there. You don't start with discipline. And that's what parents, when they hire me with teenagers, they're often very frustrated. And they're going to say, here's what I want to deal with. And I said, yeah, we'll deal with that in week 3. And they're like, what? And I said, yeah, you got to connect. You got to connect with your teenager first. How can you possibly discipline them if you're not even connected? You're just the enemy. You got to connect with them. I'm going to tell you this cute story. I don't tell it every live. There is one story I tell pretty much every live. You already know what it is if you're a regular. But this other one's one of my all-time favorites. It's so cute, but it's with a teenager, and most parents here don't have teenagers, so that's why it doesn't come up a lot. Anyway, it was so cute. This mom had a 16-year-old boy, and they just bought him a new car. He didn't have his license yet. So every single night after dinner, the mom and him went out for a driving lesson. Just her and her 16-year-old boy. They fought like cat and dog. She says, we've never really enjoyed each other's company. He was always challenging from the time he was little, and they just fought all the time. They just didn't like each other. They loved each other, but they didn't like each other. So I said, okay, here's what I want you to do. Your rule is if you yell at him, your rule is no yelling. If you yell, your consequence is the next driving lesson, you're not allowed to speak. Unless it's look out for that train. Like it literally has to be life and death for you to speak, because she was a nag in the car. Anyway, she goes, well, I can't do that. And I just dug my heels in and I said, you have to. That's what you have to do. Anyway, so she did. I said, don't waste your money. I said, you just wasted your money on me then. So that's how I always get them to do what I want. So anyway, she said, yeah, okay. Anyway, so then I talked to her the next week. She was laughing. She said, wait till you hear this. So she knew that she wouldn't be able to not talk unless she had some reminder. She put, I think, painter's tape on her mouth like this to remind herself not to talk. So as she was getting in the car with her son, he didn't see this at first, and she was going to get in the car, and she saw in the side mirror, she saw the tape and started to laugh. And the tape released on the bottom and started flapping in the wind when she was laughing. Her son saw her. They both started giggling. She goes, we have never laughed together ever. They had never giggled together and laughed. She goes, that was the start of a beautiful relationship. That was a turning point. And it was just this laughing at her tape flapping in the wind. And I said, there you go. You got to be very humble and give with teenagers. You got to be willing to give. She didn't want to do it, but she said it was the best thing she ever did. And yeah, we did a lot of other work too, obviously, but that was the start. But you see, it's not about them. It's about you and bond and connecting with them. How are you going to connect with your teenager? And all your kids of any age, how are you going to connect with them? You connect in their world. Should I tell you the couch story, the furniture story? If you're interested, I'll tell you how I connected with my son when he started pulling away, because they do that. When they're about 15, boys start to become men and they start to pull away. And I thought, well, what am I going to do? If you're interested, if you have teenagers, just let me know and I'll okay. Yeah, you asked again about autism. That's coaching, one-on-one with me. I don't deal with that on here because I need to assess the situation. It's a specialty, and that's just with coaching. It's in the link above if you're interested. Is 40 too old to have a first baby? And then if able to conceive. Someone else already answered they had their first at 40 and second at 41. The older you are, usually the calmer you are as a parent. But yeah, physically, they say it's not good. You're supposed to have your kids when you're teenagers. That's when your body's at the best. But who does that anymore, right? Okay, I'll tell the story of how I was connected with my son. This was quite funny, actually. We were always like best buddies, super close. And I remember every single morning I'd get up, he'd be in the kitchen, and I'd say, morning, sweetie. Like I'm really cheery, morning, sweetie. And he'd go, morning, mom, with the cracking voice. And I'd tease him about his voice, and his hair was everywhere. So we started every day with this lovely little ritual. And one morning I got up, he was 15. I got up and I said, morning, sweetie. He turned around. He looked like a different person. No kidding. He was like turning into a man, starting to get a beard. He got tall. He turned around and did this. He went, morning, mom. His voice stopped cracking. He turned into a guy. He wasn't chatting with me like a girlfriend anymore. And he even said, mom, I'm not your girlfriend anymore. Like we were like best buddies. And all of a sudden he's turning into a man, right? I didn't understand men till I raised one. I kind of got it. He says, mom, when you ask a man what he's thinking and he says nothing, that's what he's thinking. Nothing. We actually are able to think about nothing. So he taught me a lot about men. But anyway, So I thought, how am I going to connect with this kid? We used to be like best buddies. We still got along, but we weren't like best friends anymore, right? I missed him. So I thought, and he loved playing video games. So I thought, I know what I'll do. I got a magazine and I went down the rec room where he had all of his gaming set up. And I went down there and I just sat down beside him with my magazine. I didn't talk to him or anything. He's gaming, playing a racing game, and I'm just sitting there going through a magazine. As time went on, he's talking about his game. And then I was furniture. I just pretended I was furniture, basically. Next thing you know, he's handing me a controller and we're playing together. We started bonding. You always bond in their world, but you have to do it authentically. You can't just say, I want to bond with you. Can I play with you? Like, you can't do that. So anyway, but he invited me in. So I just was very clear. I was there. I didn't ask to be invited. I was just there. I was available. So anyway, this was hilarious. I'm horrible at those racing games. Like, really, I just can't get it. You know, you turn it this way, but the car is going that way. And then I just mentally can't. Remember, I can't go sideways. I can only go straight forward. So anyway, I just couldn't get it. So anyway, and we were always laughing at how horrible I was at this. We eventually found Guitar Hero, and I love that. So anyway, we ended up playing that more when we were playing together. I didn't play with him all the time, but so anyway, he gets up to go to the bathroom when we were playing this racing game. And as he's in the bathroom, I'm yelling out to him, "Oh my God, you should see what I'm doing. I'm killing it." I actually was going around this track like perfectly. I wasn't hitting the guardrails. I wasn't spinning off, and I was actually going around perfectly. And he missed it. So he comes back in. He comes back in the room, and I said, "You should have seen it. You missed it. I nailed it. And he's looking at me like I'm nuts. He goes, "Mom, that was my replay. That was, how stupid am I?" He put his replay on, went to the bathroom, and I thought I was doing it. Anyway, that's how bad. So we had a lot of fun together again. Like, we just sort of found, a different way of communicating. So, but it was all in his world, that kind of stuff. So anyway, another funny thing is, months later, when he had a bunch of friends over down the rec room, and I went down there, and then they said, "Hey," and he said, "Oh, Mom, do you want to just play with us for a while?" And I didn't, stupidly, "Yeah, sure." He was so excited. "Yeah, sure." So I'm playing, and he does it again. He puts the car in replay. I thought I was doing it. And he said, "See, I told you," to his friends, and they couldn't believe I fell for it. So yeah, I became the butt of the joke. It was great. It was so much fun. But anyway, so yeah, I entered his world. I didn't push myself on him. I waited till I was invited, but I made it very clear I'm available. Okay. Is it kind of pathetic? Yeah. That's what parenting is. You got to be very humble. You got to have no pride, no dignity. You just got to be there. I called it being furniture. Your son seems like a character. He was extremely funny, extremely, very witty. He was 8 years old, and I'll never forget this. The first time I realized he was very smart, very clever, and I kept him, he was labeled as gifted. I kept him mainstream because I've known too many gifted kids who've been put in special schools, and they turn out like just a mess. So I kept him mainstream. Just because he's really good at thinking things through doesn't mean I didn't want him mainstream. So I fought for that. Anyway, in high school, they did have to segregate him. I didn't have a choice. But anyway, I kept him mainstream, and we were very into fun, like humor. Anyway, he was 8 years old, and he came home from school, and he says, "Mom," he said, "there's this new kid in school, and his name is spelled John, but he pronounces it Jean." And he was from, I think, South Africa, actually. And he said, but he pronounces it wrong. He pronounces it Jean. And I said, "Sweetheart, it's his name. He can pronounce it any way he wants." So my son, like that, says, "Okay, my name," I won't say his name, but he said, "My name is so-and-so, but it's pronounced Braveheart." I thought that was, and he just looked at me like he knew that was a good one. Like, I thought, how freaking funny is that? Like, he was really witty. Really, he still is. He's 33. He's very witty. But anyway, how clever is that, eh? Okay. Oh, you're going to hate my answer. This is for Colette. "Can I ask, how do you encourage speech? My little girl, nearly 2. Is there anything I can buy to encourage?" I wouldn't rush it. It's probably your first one, right? So you're always in a rush for them to do everything. I wouldn't rush that. Yeah. They're going to pick it up eventually, but I'm not a speech pathologist or a pediatrician. But yeah, I wouldn't rush it. They'll eventually pick up. I never shut up. Both my kids talked a lot because I talk a lot. And they knew that they had to talk to keep up. So we all talked a lot. And I was always asking them stuff. "What do you think about that? And they'd answer. So, I asked a lot of leading questions. but I wasn't really in any rush for that. Yeah. Do you have a wedding to attend soon? Don't you have a wedding to attend soon? Oh, my daughter got married a couple weeks ago. Was that for me? Do you have a wedding? Okay. Yeah, she got married a couple weeks ago. Geez, it was beautiful. It was just the two sets of parents, my ex-husband and I and his parents, just 6 of us. And they were going to elope, and then they decided they wanted the parents there. Oh my God, we were a mess. I was crying, and it was beautiful. It was, what's the word for it? What was the word I used? It was just so intimate. Yeah, that's the word. It was so intimate. It was just us. No one in the world wants more for them than they want for themselves, than the 4 parents. We all get along great, and no one's pushy or anything. It's just whatever you want, we're right there for you. All we wanted was to make their day special, the 4 parents, and it was just beautiful, so beautiful. My daughter's not the princess type at all. She hates all that stuff, that pretentious stuff. So she could never have had a wedding. And I made her dress for her. She designed it and I made it. It was beautiful. That's not really important. Well, now I have to read it. What's your opinion on teaching toddlers to clean at what age? Yeah, that's not very important. No, it is. I know what you're saying. You want to get them into good habits. I'll tell you what I did with my kids. I had a toy rotation system, and they knew that they couldn't even watch TV until the toys were put back. Like, unless it was something they're actively playing with that was out in the open. But if they made a big mess, they wanted to watch something, not so much at 2, but certainly by 3. Like, they would never have said, "Can we watch TV?" if there were toys everywhere. They would have cleaned up first and then said, "Can I watch TV?" They just knew you got to do what you need to do before you can do what you want to do. You got to earn the wants. Does that make sense? Earn the wants. Like, you want to live in your nice apartment, you got to pay the mortgage, pay the rent. You got to earn what you want. So you kind of teach them by the age of about 3, not 2 so much, not 2. So it's important to teach them that. You got to do what you need to do before you do what you want to do. Like, my kids never heard the word no, because they never asked me anything if they knew the answer was going to be no. I was 100% predictable. You want to be predictable. Leaders are very predictable. So, like, for example, if they wanted to watch something or wanted to go somewhere, they would have made sure they cleaned up first. Or I would have said, I taught them this by saying, sure, you can watch TV as soon as you made your bed. Sure, you can do that as soon. I use the as soon as method. So it was like a reward kind of thing. But anyway, I never really told them what to do. They just learned that. That's why they were self-disciplined from about 3.5 to 4 years old. They were kind of just self-disciplining. Yeah, 2 years old, it's a big ask of a 2-year-old. How do you deal with questioning? I got 3 boys, 6, 7, and 8, and they question everything. Are they questioning your authority? I would never answer that. I don't explain myself. If I'm a leader and I know I'm doing a good job, if I know I'm fair and reasonable, I don't explain myself at all. Never. So if they're questioning your authority, that's rude. That's disrespectful. If they're just asking about space, like, what about space? When did it all start? My kids used to ask me stuff. I'd say, I don't know. You know as much as I do. What about God? What about heaven? I don't know. You know as much as I do. Like, so I would just say, like, I don't know, let's figure it out together. I never wanted to look like I had all the answers, but I was still very much a leader. A leader isn't a know-it-all. A leader guides them into thinking for themselves. So yeah, I'm suggesting that maybe they're questioning your authority. Like, why do we have to do that? Why do we have to do chores? I'd just say, because you do. That's all I would say, because you do. And if they kept asking me, then there'd be a consequence if they kept after me. But I won't get into that here because it can be complicated. It's a bit of a drastic step to have consequences for that. Like, if a kid keeps at you, but why? Why are you doing that? Why are you making me do this? Why are you? And I won't tell you how to do that here. It's more of a coaching thing, because if you start with that, it's kind of hard to do. So you want to learn other things first. Like, when I'm coaching people, I take them through steps to get where they want to go. And they always want to know, how do I get there? And I say, you got to start here. And they get frustrated. But I want to be there. Yeah, you got to start here. It's like when you're learning how to fly a plane, the instructor might teach you maybe 2 or 3 dials in one day. And then it would be like you saying, yeah, but I want to fly the plane today. You understand that it takes time. Parenting's like that. It takes time. So I got to take you through step. I've got it all paced out exactly how I know It works because I've been doing this for so long now. If I was to tell you what to do, like what I do with kids, it wouldn't work. You got to start slow. Like I'm level 10 with what I teach, obviously. You got to start at level 1. Once you get to level 3, after that third week of behavior boards, you tend to accelerate quite quickly. The first 3 weeks are kind of hell. But after that, you kind of accelerate quickly. I've only had one client. I thought if I was going to teach anyone to do what I do and to partner with me in this, it was a client. She just got it. Like she just like that. She just got very young mom. So she could only work with young kids. She didn't have the experience with teenagers. But yeah, it was really bizarre. I've never met anyone where I thought, yeah, I could teach her to do this. And she just was so quick the way she picked it all up. It's about connecting with kids. She just said that. She goes, it really is just about connecting with them, isn't it? And I said, yeah. Making them feel good about themselves. Yeah. She understood it had nothing to do with the kids. It's all about her. Because I've worked with hundreds of kids and I've managed to get respect with all of them. Was it the kids? No, no one ever said, here's an easy one, Lisa. They always said, good luck with this one. So why was it was me. It wasn't the kids. I know how to be a leader. And she just picked it up so fast. I couldn't believe it. I don't want to say what she did for a living because I don't identify my clients, but yeah, it kind of made sense. She was very analytical and open-minded. Oh, no screens at the table. That goes for parents too. Husband says no. I said yes. So you're asking me how to handle your husband? You have to hire me for that. And then you just flip a coin. Flip a coin. Say, we'll try it your way. We'll try it my way. Or you can say you can cut a deal. We'll do it my way. If you don't see an improvement in the kids, I'll do this for you. I won't go into it, but some of the stuff we've come up with is can't repeat it. Oh God. I get this. I love my clients. Some of the stuff that we talk about is just unbelievable. They say, I can't believe I'm telling you all this stuff. And I said, yeah, I'm used to it. I seem to bring all that stuff out in people. Some of the stuff we talk about. Oh God, it's funny. Just reminded me of something. Yeah. Cutting deals with your partner. Sometimes that's what you got to do. And have fun with it. Like, it can be fun. Okay, 18-month-old hitting other kids. I've known kids like that. And you have to catch it every single time. Your embarrassment will get in the way of you doing the right thing. So just accept the fact that you're just going to have to say to people, oh, I got a violent kid here. I'm dealing with it. Make fun of it, so that you just say to him, no, and you restrain him every single time. Prevent him from hitting other kids. It's going to be hard work, but you're going to have to be right there watching him. You can't relax and have fun when you're out socializing with him. That's part of parenting, especially with toddlers. They are full on. So yeah, you just got to watch him, and every single time he goes to hit, you say no. Violent toddler, he's in training, make fun of it. It's your embarrassment that gets in the way. Usually out in public. Advice when a 2-year-old resists a demand, pick it up, how to encourage. Oh goodness, I don't demand anything of kids. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I wouldn't talk like that. I just wouldn't. You're talking about the authority style parent. You do what I say, and I'm the authority. I don't even want to enter into that conversation. I wouldn't talk to a kid like that. Advice for transitions leaving the park. That was my son. He used to have tantrums when we were transitioning. Like if he didn't want to leave somewhere, and I would say, I do all the right things. I would say, we're going to be leaving in 5 minutes. We're going to be leaving in 1 minute. Okay, we're leaving now. And I took him. I had to pick him up kicking and screaming and get him out of there. And, but yeah, it was ugly. But he eventually learned when mom said, we're leaving, we're leaving. He was more inclined to have more tantrums and worse ones when he was out with his dad, because his dad didn't take action. There's always one leader and there's always one stronger parent. That was me. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, you can see the difference. And my son started reacting better when he knew when I said something, it was going to happen. But that was his own brain processing it. Don't get involved in that process. When they're having a tantrum, do not get involved in it. I just picked him up and carted him away, but I wouldn't look at him or talk to him. I would put him in the car and then just let him scream it out. I wouldn't ever engage in a tantrum. Don't feed it. Any attention is tantrum food. Okay, how would you approach it then to ask a 2-year-old to pick it up? Well, I don't know what they're picking up. What are they picking up? What do you mean? And you always say it like this. Let's say, I don't know what you want them to pick up. I can't even think of an example. The reason I have a hard time with examples is I got too much in my head. Like I get too many examples. So that's when I get flustered. Oh, which one? Anyway, you want them to pick something up and you say, okay, as soon as you pick that up, we're going to go and do that. Use the as soon as method. If they don't pick it up, you take action like that. You just go over and pick it up. Maybe put it away. But yeah, I don't quite know the situation. So if I knew exactly the situation, I could tell you step by step exactly what I do. But yeah. But I always say, okay, as soon as you pick that up, we're going to go and do this. Like have a reason why you expect them to pick it up. Oh, how can you gentle parent? I don't teach that at all. Not at all. So yeah, if you're looking for gentle parenting, you're going to have to go somewhere else. I don't know anything about it. I don't teach it. So yeah. But yellers can come from any world. Yeah, I can't say anymore. Never mind. Okay, what if their loud tantrum is distracting your driving? Then pull over. Just pull over to the side of the road and start filing your nails and wait for it to stop. So is yelling okay? No. Makes me laugh when people ask you about gentle parenting. And you see how I react every time? It's like there's nothing I can say. Because as soon as you've labeled that, I can't say anything because I'm not going to criticize anything. I'm not going to critique it. There you go. I'm not going to even criticizing sounds like I'm going to criticize it like I need to. I'm not saying that. I'm not going to critique it. I'm just not, because I think that's kind of rude of me. So I'm just not. I critique and criticize a lot of methods, but I don't know who teaches them. I don't know I've never read a book on parenting. I don't know what anyone else out there is doing with parenting. Kids taught me all this. I learned all this through experience with kids. I don't know what anyone else out there is doing. I haven't got a clue. I am very careful about that. So yeah, that's why I get all, I don't want to critique that. Don't put me in that spot because I won't do it. I'd be filing my nails to my knuckles. If that's what it takes. Yeah, that's good. My son had tantrums. My daughter never did. But they used to fight. Oh, this is a good story. They used to fight in the back of the car. Second they got in the car after school, every single day they'd be at each other. My daughter would be up against the window like this. Mommy's touching me. And he'd be not touching, but he'd be like that close to her, right? That was from The Simpsons, not hitting or whatever it was. So he'd be right there. And she was going like this, drove me nuts. So what I did was I'd pull over to the side of the road, and it was hot there too in Australia. I'd put all the windows down, the air conditioning was off, and I'd just open up the windows and I'd pull over to the side of the road, and then I'd just stand there waiting. And then as soon as they stopped, and then they'd stop instantly, but I'd just wait another couple of minutes, then I'd get back in the car, and because they wanted to get home. We had a pool, they wanted to get in the pool, right? So anyway, that's what I used to do. Then I realized, how dumb was I? That's how they said hello. They were having a great time. It's just because they never fought. So it just drove me nuts. That's how they said hello. They were having a blast. She was smashed up against the window laughing, but they were so loud. I don't know why I thought they were fighting. But yeah, that's how they said hello. They hadn't seen each other all day. They were 5 years apart. They never crossed paths at school. Or if they did, he'd ignore her because he was the older one. But that's how they said hello. Isn't that funny? I never clued in. How dumb was I? But yeah, so if you're really struggling, pull off to the side of the road and just sit there. Don't talk to them. Don't look at them. Just sit there. Look like you're just waiting, like you're in a lineup waiting. You don't go on your phone, by the way. That's dismissive. I think that's rude. It's dismissive. It's like they don't even count enough to ignore. You want to actively ignore them, if that makes any sense. You're just waiting. As soon as they stop, y'all done? Okay, let's get going. Don't discuss tantrums before, during, or after. A tantrum is a brain process, a brain processing, not getting their own way. If you interrupt that natural brain process, it's going to last longer. Don't interrupt it. The better you get at ignoring tantrums, the quicker they will lessen in duration, frequency, and intensity. I actually got that right without even looking at the note up there. So the word duration that always trips me up. One of you told me that because I said the length of time that they last, but he said it's duration. So it's duration, frequency, and intensity will lessen if you ignore tantrums and allow their brain to process the start, the beginning, and the end of a tantrum all by themselves. And then when it's over, oh, y'all done? Okay, let's go to the park. Okay, let's go. Let's go. In other words, we're all done. Do you always ignore tantrums? Yep. Yep. Why would you? The only time I don't is if they're being violent. If they're hurting themselves, someone else, or damaging property, then I physically restrain them. Not older kids, though. Like if it's going to be an all-out war because they're bigger than you don't do that. But with little kids, you just restrain them if they're being violent. So yeah, you always ignore tantrums. Why would you get involved in that? If you can come up with a good reason to feed a tantrum, you can let me know. I've been doing this now for 51 years. I have never once had anyone have a good argument for that. Well, you're not validating their feelings. Darn right. Why would I want to validate a tantrum? Why on earth would you want to validate a tantrum? Makes no sense at all. Why? Why? Anyway, that's the number one argument. Validating feelings. That's the pleaser parent style. You got to validate every single thought and feeling, fart and burp. Got to validate everything. You're raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. This will be them when they're an adult. You didn't validate my feelings. Well, I'm just a bus driver, lady. They got to learn that some things they're not going to get attention for everything they do. Most parents who do that, pleaser style, are also yellers. It's interesting, isn't it? They also yell. The pleaser parent style, they also yell. Because pleaser parent stuff doesn't work. It absolutely tanks big time down the road. And then the parents get frustrated. They start yelling. It's a train wreck. What about kids who just want to hang around you 24/7? They linger around when we want alone time. That was my daughter. Oh my God, she was like Velcro to me. I would just say, scram, Mom needs some alone time. And she'd go, oh, okay. Because I was such an involved mother that all their needs were being met and then some. So when I said, I need some time to myself, scram, I'm going to be writing to Grant. I wrote to my mom every single day. No, I'm not still in Australia. I was there for about 20 years. My kids were born and raised there. I loved Australia. I came back. I met an Australian, moved there, had my son 9 months to the day later. And then I had another kid after that. I was there for years. And then my mother got ill. And I'm the only daughter. And my mom was in Vancouver, where I was from. My mom got ill. She had a stroke and she just was aging and she needed her daughter. And I just felt, and I was already divorced at that time, and I just felt this pull to be with my mom, needed her daughter. You know, you live and you run your life according to where you want to be, what you want to do when you're younger. When you get older, you tend to revolve more around who you love. And my mom, loving my mother and wanting to be there when she was dying and older, was more important than anything else. Otherwise, I never would have left Australia. I loved Australia. And anyway, so I said to my ex-husband, I said, and he's Australian, and I said, look, I want to move back to Canada with the kids. My mom needs her daughter. And he said, over my dead body. And I said, well, that can be arranged, but I want you to come with us, because I would never take kids away from their dad. So I said, I moved for you 20 years ago. I want you to do it for me now, for my mom. And he did. We all moved over here. And, but yeah, it was very difficult, very difficult, but it all worked out. And my mom died in my arms. It was beautiful, beautiful. She was 93. So you tend to lean more into who you love rather than where you want to be and what you want to do. It's interesting. I kind of heard that from someone when I was young, and I thought, yeah, it doesn't really sink in. They said you move to where you want to be, but then eventually you want to move. That's why a lot of people end up going home again, because those are where the people they love, and love is more important than anything else in life. Okay, you're talking to Mally. You say, no, you're not alone. What's she going through? Thank goodness I'm not alone. I need to know. Learn so much. Okay. Don't worry, exactly. You're still learning to control my screaming. I got to know what you guys are talking about. Just sounded like it was something serious. Okay, I'm getting dizzy. I can't go back for very long. Okay, how do you approach death with little ones? You really don't. You just say, okay, I lost my grandparents. By the time I was 14, I had no grandparents and my dad had died. So I went through a lot of death. You never really understand it. And what I found upset, no matter what you say to kids, they're never going to see that person again. Unless you believe in heaven. Even that, in this life, they're never going to see that person again. That is a tough thing to deal with. That's really tough. So yeah, I don't think you can prepare them. But what you do with kids is you keep it all open. Try and keep it positive. Talk about the positives, how much they loved you, and this. So keep them alive that way. But you can't prepare anyone for death, no matter what. My dad had cancer, and it took him 4.5 years. He fought it. So I was 10 when he got sick, and I was 14 and a half when he died. And I lost my childhood. Watching someone die, you lose your childhood. And but yeah, and then when he died, we knew he was going to die, and he went in the hospital for the last 3 weeks for palliative care, and he looked like a concentration camp victim. We get the phone call, and it's like he was never sick. It's like, oh my God, you can't prepare for death. So don't even try. It's just going to be sad. Some things you can't prevent children from being in pain sometimes. There's nothing anyone could have said to me that would have made that any easier. Nothing. So, and my mom died 7 years ago in my arms. That was actually beautiful because she was 93. It was natural. We'd already said everything a million times. And so, yeah, it was natural and beautiful. But still, it's very, very sad. Going without my mom. She was my best friend, my mentor for all those years. But then last year, I lost my little dog. I'd had him for like 15 years. And we were in the vet, and you'd think, I'm 62 years old, and you would think it would get easier. I've had a lot of pets over the years because I rescue, so you get older animals, and I often had two dogs at a time. So they're not going to live that long, right? Anyway, I had him for a long time. He had 11 health concerns. And the vet said, it's amazing he lived as long as he did. He was very spoiled. Anyway, he was in my arms at the vet. My daughter got to hold him when they put him down. It was the first of our pets she held. And when they put them down, and I just felt this sob, like it was just, you can't prepare for it. Don't even try. Just say death is hell, or no, don't use the word hell, but it's awful, and that's okay. We have to learn how to live through pain. So don't try and protect your children from it. You can't anyway. It's impossible. Yeah. Yeah, it's awful losing people. It's awful. But how are you going to prepare someone for that? When my mom died, I won't go into the story, but I got there like probably 20, 30 minutes before she died. I'd been with her that morning. She'd had a fall. They stitched up her head, but she had a bleed, and she was not well anyway. So it was kind of a blessing because she had very little quality of life. Anyway, so I got there 20, 30 minutes before. So it was really beautiful, but this was so weird. After she died, I went home and, I was talking we had people around, and then I went to bed, and I sat up in bed for 4 hours. I stared at the wall, and my entire childhood played out in front of me with my mom and my dad. It was bizarre. It was like a picture. I was watching a movie. My whole childhood. The weird part though, is by the time it was over, my childhood ended. I think it stopped when my dad died. That's when it stopped. It just was like a reel just playing. It was bizarre. I've never even heard of that before. And then when it was finished, I couldn't blink. I hadn't blinked for 4 hours. I just was staring at the wall like this for 4 hours. And I remember even thinking I should blink, but I didn't want to miss anything. So isn't that bizarre? Anyway, so yeah. Death it's intense. Don't try and protect your children from it. You can't anyway. But afterwards, talk about all the positives of that person, and then let them talk. Nine-year-old skid marks. Well, a lot of men do that too. Skid marked underwear. It's a good one. It comes up in coaching, believe it or not. That comes up more often than you would think. I wouldn't have them clean the pants. I might make it humorous and say, you know what? No more skiddies. If we see one, there will be a consequence, and make it something funny. So just have fun with it, but make them do something that they don't like, but no shame, none whatsoever. He's just 9 years old. Maybe get one of those bidets. You get this portable bidets, or get the wet ones, not the flushables. Have a little garbage can nearby, and it has a lid on it, and they can do it that way. So, but yeah. You're live on Wednesday now instead of Tuesdays. No, I'm only scheduled Tuesday at 7. I'm usually on here every day, but I'm only scheduled Tuesday at 7, Saturday at 10, Vancouver time. But I'm on here every day. I've been doing these for about a year and a half now. It's just that some people like to, the reason I scheduled them is I was going to try and do less of them. I haven't done that yet. I don't do it every single day now, but usually I do. Like if I've got time, I like to hop on. Okay, my throat's getting sore, so I'm going to have to get going now. Vancouver, Washington. I don't know if it's the same time. It's Vancouver, Canada, California, Pacific time. Okay, what about the not fair tantrum? My 6-year-old wants everything his older brother has. If you know you're being fair and reasonable and they say not fair, just say, that's life, kiddo. Like, you don't give that any attention. If you know you're being fair and reasonable. If you're not sure, figure it out. Are you giving us a 5-minute warning? Okay. I want to tell you a funny story, but I thought that's not really the place for it, but something really funny happened to me. Never mind. I've got another channel for that stuff. No one looks at that one, but my other channel is I call it my old lady channel. It's really for my grandkids. Down the road, I want my grandkids to, like 20 years from now, look back on that and say, oh, Granny was funny, or Granny went through that. I joke about being an old lady. That's what it's really there for. But anyway, I got to go, and thanks so much for joining me, and I'll probably be back again tomorrow. I never know what time, except Tuesday nights and Saturday mornings. That's on my bio up there. If you're interested in hiring me, buying one of my courses, or downloading my free behavior board, that's also in the link above there. It's all in bullet form. Everything on my website is up there. I've just put it in bullet form in that Linktree website thing. So anyway, thanks so much, and we'll talk again soon. Bye now.